Okay, turn on.
Recording in progress.
Good morning. Today is Thursday, June 20th, 2024 at 9 a.m. and the Lunenburg Cemetery Commission is starting their meeting. I need to read a few things and then we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. So first, in accordance with the requirement of the open meeting law, please be advised that the meeting is being recorded and broadcasted live over the Lunenburg Public Access channel on Facebook Live on the Public Access Facebook page, and will be uploaded to the Lunenburg Access YouTube after the meeting. This meeting will be held in person at the location provided on the notice, which is in the Bellata Meeting Room. Members of the public are welcome to attend this in-person meeting. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with particular interest in any specific item on the agenda should make plans for in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. A member of the public who wishes to record a meeting must first notify the chair and must comply with the reasonable requirements regarding audio or video equipment established by the chair so as not to interfere with the meeting. The chair is required to inform other attendees of such recording at the beginning of the meeting. If someone arrives after the meeting has begun and wishes to record the meeting, and the person should attempt to notify the chair prior to beginning recording, ideally in a matter that does not significantly disrupt the meeting in progress, such as passing a note for the chair. The chair should endeavor to acknowledge such attempts at notification and announce the fact of any recording to these in attendance. The agenda lists all the topics which may be discussed at the meeting and those reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may be brought up for discussion for the extent permitted by the open meeting law. Public participation is encouraged and public comments may be welcomed during committee member discussions at the discretion of the chair. Please note, public comment, that you have 3 minutes to give your comment. Thank you. Maybe I'll rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now, I don't have anyone that is here recording at this point in time. I'm just looking on Zoom just to see if we have anybody else here. Just logging in to see if there's someone in the background here. All right. I'm not sure how much we're going to get done today, only because it's Heather was supposed to be here. I'm looking to see if she's on Zoom. I don't see her there. I know that Bill Bernard is unable to attend today, so Heather was going to come in his place. So we'll see. We'll get started, and then we'll see how far we can get. Let's go through, review, and approve the minutes for May 16th, if you don't mind. There is one typo that I made in it, and I've got to fix, if we're okay, once we go through it and you guys read it. It's on the second page. It's that very last paragraph. Discussed maintenance. It should say plan, not plane. So if everything else is okay. We're having some technical difficulties. I can see somebody's hand raised, but it does not show me who they are, or... Did you read it already?
Yes, I
Okay.
read it from the email, and
Okay.
I'm fine. Yes, very good.
Okay.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes from Thursday, May 16th.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Thank you. Put that away. Now, I skipped over the public comment, my apologies. I'm seeing it on the computer, I have somebody's hands raised, but there's nobody here. So it looks like we are having some difficulties here, so my apologies to that.
Is there anyone in the back room?
I don't know, see, that's the problem, I can't see.
I'm in the office, over there.
Yes. Okay, so let's start looking at what was sent to us from Bill Bernard. We can at least talk about it. I know and Heather was supposed to be here again to sit with us, to go over this with us. Again, she may be the one that's trying to get in somehow on the Zoom and is unable to. Do you have a copy, Mike? Because I have another one if you do. Not.
Oh, okay. If you have one convenient.
Yep.
Mine was-
The only thing is I did where that number was wrong.
Oh, okay, this is the latest, okay.
So, again, so the information that was given to us by Mr. Bernard, our DPW director, states on June 20th, 2024, for today's meeting, we have one full burial that was done on June 20th, which is today, and then we've had 3 cremations, May 30th, June 7th, and June 10th. So I looked back last year in 2023 to see exactly pretty much, and again, you can't tell from year to year because of, unfortunately, with people passing away, but the most that we had last year in 2023 was 10 full burials and 21, and this is for the solid year, and 21 cremations. So when we're talking about hours on the total hours of 179.5 hours, I'm a little confused because again, and Dave, I know that you wanted to ask some questions regarding that, so why don't I turn it over to you with that?
Yeah, the questions I have, the way he outlined it here, there's just, the mowing in North Cemetery was 41 hours of mowing, 6 hours of trimming, 47 hours total. But is this for 1 month, or is this for a week? It doesn't state. It says it's a total of 179 and a half man-hours, but it doesn't say the time limit for those man-hours.
I don't like to assume anything, but I believe it's during the time of our memorial time frame. It took them 179.5 hours to do all of that.
So these tables are the DPW plus Lakeview. It's not a
Correct.
trade-off of DPW versus Lakeview.
Correct.
Okay.
But again, based on what you just said, during Memorial Day, did they figure that as a week? And you
Right,
figure it's
you're
2
still,
weeks?
right,
Yeah.
correct.
So, because it's 41 mowing hours, is that 1 hour overtime? Because there's only 40 hours in a day,
And again, we can't seem to have
or
that
40 hours
answered.
in a week, I mean. So, So I'm just trying to figure out the 179 and a half man-hours. Because if there's 40 hours in a week, and there's 7 days, that's 168 hours
Right.
for, you know. This whole topic we discussed before, Mike, before you came on, we discussed this a while ago, and we're going back into the same system again.
Yeah,
How long it takes.
right. If you do the 179 divided by a 40-hour week, you got 5 man weeks.
Right.
Or
Right.
five people to do it in a week.
Right.
So you need 5 people on mowers.
So here's my concern, and I think that's what you were trying to get to, is
Right.
because we're going on a solid year and this is not getting any better. I mean, we have information from other places that it should take, on an average, at North Cemetery, 24 to 30 hours to get North Cemetery done. And it should take,
3 days, okay.
okay, and then at South Cemetery, it should take 16 to 20 hours.
2.5 days.
So, and if you look.
One person.
Yes,
And that might be, but,
go ahead.
well, I guess it aligns too with the hiring strategy for summer help, you know. The hiring strategy will not meet the mowing requirements if you hire 2 people at 19 hours a week.
Right. Now, if you go back to our meeting notes that we just approved, in the section, the DPW Director, Bernard, replies that it takes 40 hours in North Cemetery and 20 hours in South Cemetery. So a week and a half to do both. Now, when I look at the DPW Fish Street mowing 2 hours, again, this is my observation as far as on the Cemetery Commission. I have, at our own property, I mow the lawn myself with a push mower, and I can do our lawn, which is not quite an acre. So it's a little bit underneath that. I can do that in 2 hours. So I don't think that area at Fish Street doesn't look that big to me. It shouldn't take us 2 hours to do that.
Right.
Would you agree, either one of you?
Yeah, I don't think it's an acre, but.
No, I don't think it's an acre here. No, no, no. I'm just talking
You
about,
live near there, do you know?
Oh, yeah, it's like
it's like this size,
this room, half of the room.
right? And we're only talking a few hedges, we're only talking a few grave sites in there.
Right.
So it's not like you have to stop because of the grave sites somewhat. So I personally,
Maybe it's travel time too. You're going from south to here and then, you know, I'm not making a joke of it. You
Yeah.
know.
right,
They are driving and moving and unloading equipment. So,
But it shouldn't be. It should be just the time that you're mowing. That's what we're looking for,
right,
not the travel time to get there.
right, but he's just saying, is it that? He's just bringing
Right,
that, right,
right.
exactly, because we don't know what we don't know, unfortunately.
yeah, somewhere you gotta capture
Right,
logistics.
right. So with that being said, I think I would like to see someone really delve into the numbers to find out exactly what we're dealing with, because this is getting insane, that we can't seem to get cemeteries done for these holidays. And I can tell you that if the DPW believes that this was done properly and well for Memorial Day, I can tell you that I've had several people, not just one, not just two, come to the Cemetery Commission and say that they were very much upset with how the cemeteries are looking and how they're looking today. So with that being said, I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to do regarding it, because it's just not getting done properly. And I have a few suggestions. That's why I wanted the town manager here to ask her, what are we going to do to fix this? Because we're still spinning our wheels again and again and
Well-
again.
Again, that's what I was just thinking about. we've been going through this, I've been on the commission for 3 years now. I know last year or two, we were at the library, we went through the same topic. We even had at that meeting, we had the selectmen, a couple of selectmen there, we had Heather there, DPW and the superintendent. And he was very truthful, the superintendent, of what the problems were. Okay, he said he gets so many phone calls, he's only one person, he can't do that. So we came up with an idea of doing a pilot program, of bringing a company in that knows how to do the landscaping. And we did a pilot program, and we were able to get it done in time. I thought it was reasonably priced, but then now there's excuses why we can't continue doing that. And I think some people are getting concerned that we're getting into someone's job and all, it's so many excuses. When we came up with this resolution of how
Right.
to do it.
I think,
Now we're back into this again.
right,
You know, how many hours it takes.
right.
How many phone calls he gets from other places. And we came up with a solution for that too, have someone put on your phone that you're going to be calling them back between 2 and 3. You don't take phone calls except between 2 and 3. Or have someone as a secretary, receptionist, take your calls for you. There's so many different things that we can do to help out getting the job done, but it's being delayed. And this has been over a year now. Over a year of doing this. So the problem is no one wants to make a decision. We cannot make the decision because we are
Right.
not in charge of the maintenance, but the people that can make the decision are prolonging it. And it's.
I mean, what they're
turning
forcing
the
us-
public, because I want to let you know that a couple of months ago, when I was at the cemetery for my wife, the truck pulled up and there was 2 seniors that got out of it, and they brought their lawnmower. They picked up their lawnmower from the back of the truck, and they went and mowed. The grass was like 5 inches high. They mowed their loved one's grave.
Right.
That should not be.
So,
That should not be.
I guess, when they show up, they should always do the critical areas. Those are where the plots people are visiting that have some attention. And, like in South Cemetery, the first third or even 2/3 are very well long-established graves or plots. I don't think a lot of people are visiting, but I'd have to look by area. But then you get down there to areas people are visiting, so why can't that be the priority? When you get to them, the first area you mow are these areas.
Well,
And maybe you break up each cemetery into a parcel map and say, parcel A and B will always be 3 inches. And then you go back and maybe cut other areas every other mow.
what was described to us about a year or so ago,
Yeah.
when we were at the library, is how he does it is
No, go ahead.
he they do one section, then they go down to the other end, do another section, then they come back to this side and do this.
That's the problem.
It's the problem, because then it takes a longer, you gotta do this section, then take your mower down there and do that section. Why don't we do methodically? When you do your lawn, when anyone does their lawn, do they go, well, I'll do this part, now I'm gonna go over and do this part, then I'm gonna come back and do this part. Why don't you do it methodically and just go right across and do the whole thing? That way you're on your lawnmower and you're mowing the whole thing. You're not going here to there, and back again.
And I think that's that's what I see the problem as. And again, I want to speak to the town and the residents here, is the Cemetery Commission, we are doing our best to try to resolve this. I can't apologize enough how it looks. I was just there yesterday, and you've got the same thing. You've got sections done, sections aren't done, what it looks like. We've got veterans in there, we've got, our military means so much, not only to me, but to these two gentlemen and other residents in the town. Plus the loved ones that are buried there, not just the veterans, but also the ones that are buried. I'm sorry, it is a disgrace. And I don't know what else, to be honest to you, I don't know what else to do to try to get this resolved. I can tell you that Einstein's quote, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting results to be different, is a definition of insanity, and that's where we're at. We're doing the same thing over and over again, and nothing changes. So on that regard, I'm just going to stop us for a minute, because I saw somebody come in that I know would like to do a public comment, and we saved it because we didn't do it because nobody was here. Were you the one that was on?
Yes.
I'm so sorry. I couldn't. Come on up, please, Mr. Rogers.
Thank you. Dave Rogers, 82 Highland Street. I frankly was not doing well this morning, and I decided to try to come in by Zoom.
And I'm sorry.
And that's okay. And that didn't work. But this is so important to me. I don't drive anymore, so my wife said, "Come on, let's go." And so she brought me up here. So I apologize for being late.
No,
but
that's
I could
fine.
hear you, and Anyway, technology is great if it works. I can't tell you. Well, yes, I can, because I'm going to. How frustrated I am with this, through no fault of yours. This just does not make sense, okay? If you do the math with the hours and you divide it by 40, that means that you do this for 4 weeks. I mean, give me a break. And the fact that there's nobody here, the town manager or anybody from the DPW that's rude, okay? Where is the superintendent of the cemetery? I don't know.
In all fairness to him today, he is doing a burial this morning.
Okay.
So that
All right,
obviously takes
Of
precedence.
course it does. All
Right.
But, it just, I don't understand why this is such an issue. As I have said ad nauseum, Karen and I and our kids have lived here for 50 years, okay? And when we first got here, there was a guy by the name of Dave Porter, who was in charge of the cemeteries. And there was a guy by the name of Bob Garno that was in charge of all of the other mowing the lawns and fields and parks and recreation. And it got done. One person on each. It got done. You hit the nail right on the head in terms of you can't start over here and then go. I mean, it's the biggest mishmash. It just doesn't make common sense. And I'm no rocket scientist, but I've mowed, as we all have, a great deal of grass in my 80 years. And if I ever did that at my house when I was a kid, my father would have my neck. And we lived in a very big place. Anyway, that's the frustration. And I can't understand why, especially during the Memorial Day time, that we can't make those cemeteries absolutely pristine. It's rude, it's disrespectful to do anything else. And I went there 3 times, and I saw the various states of disregard. I mean, I was furious. Some of you know me, some of you don't, but I'm a get-it-done kind of guy, and this is driving me crazy. And I'm not going to give up, but I'm going to tell you, I'm going to join with you, and we're going to get this thing done, okay? I just can't understand, but I think I know. All my considered opinion, I'm going to lay it out here on TV. I think they're messing with you. The cooperation is non-existent, non-existent, and they're messing with you. Well, I'd like to get involved with the foray, and I'm going to tell you, they're not going to mess with me, because I will get every veterans organization I know up there, and we'll get at the bottom of this. This just doesn't make sense. And thank you for accommodating my schedule. I'm sorry, I
Don't
had every
apologize.
intention, but I wasn't, I have, not that you care, but I have vertigo, and I'm dizzy, and anyway, I was not having a good day, and this heat just knocks the hell out of me. So I appreciate you taking me out of order, and the fine people that are here. I stand in line. So I've given you my first, one other thing, two other things. The headstones, I drove through and the headstones are broken on a lot. This is crazy. You know, I just don't understand why we can't get that thing, get that done. The other thing, and it sounds like I'm really nitpicking, and I probably am, but if you go by the cemetery building, there's all kinds of crap on the side. It's not neat, it's not put away. I mean, come on. This just doesn't have to be, all right? And it never was. And you know, I will help you get this thing done, because this is absolutely crazy. Okay, so thank you again for allowing me to come in late. And I tell you, I was going to try and do it at home, but technology. And my wife is a techno. I mean, she's smart as heck. I'm dumb as a stump. So.
No, my apologies to you, because I couldn't get it to work, number one. And number two is, you're so welcome, and we definitely feel your pain, because it's our pain.
Yeah.
It's been our pain for many years, and it needs to get fixed. I'm sick of, again, the Cemetery Commission, it just needs to be fixed.
Yeah. You know, for the record, and I think you know this, but for those that don't, I don't talk much about this, but I'm a Vietnam veteran. I'm 100% disabled from Agent Orange. I'm an insulin-dependent diabetic. I take 5 shots a day, 13 pills in the morning, 13 pills at night, and I've had triple bypass, stents, the whole 9 yards. So I've been down the road because of Agent Orange. So this has a particular meaning to me, okay? And the other veterans. The least we can do is show our respect and our thanks and appreciation by making the cemeteries where these folks lie the best we can do it.
And I think we can all say that we're right behind you, that we all are very passionate for the same reason. My husband is been in the Air Force. Again, he's a veteran. He's a Vietnam veteran.
Yeah.
And again, for the same reason, you know, United States government and what it means to a lot of people. And that's what I've been, me personally as chair, but also us underneath the Cemetery Commission, is very upset regarding this. We're not trying to be mean, rude, you know, I've heard all things that I'm being biased or we're being biased, one cemetery versus the other. That's not true. All the cemeteries together need to look prestige.
Right. I couldn't agree more. So I look forward to helping in any way I can.
Thank you.
And I'm going to, you know, this is a tough time, you know, with the town manager leaving, and things are in a disarray. But we can sort it out. And I'm ready, willing, and able to help any way I can to get this thing resolved. And one way or another, I promise you, we're going to get this thing resolved.
Thank you. And my apologies that Heather's not here. She was supposed to be here for Mr. Bernard because Mr. Bernard's on vacation.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, those things happen.
Right.
You know, but we'll work on it. And thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you so
time.
much. Is there anything else we want to discuss after Mr. Rogers?
Well, my one reflection too is two of our most important monuments to our veterans are on the wall behind us. and those are the gentlemen who left Lunenburg for the Civil War. And, you know, that's a testament. Our cemeteries have a lot of veterans from those war eras. And so that's something I reflect on.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. All right, so I think there's not much more we can do with not having anybody here at the DPW. Do you want to go into your piece of?
Just so.
Oh, sorry, I'm
no,
sorry.
Just so what you brought up just now, that there's no one here, so we can't really do, that's one of the problems, you know, the town keeps asking for people to volunteer. So we got volunteers to come in. Now we're on the cemetery commission, and in the last 3 years, I'm finding out, cemetery commission, the people think that we're in charge of the cemeteries, but we're not really in charge. We do the rules and regulations, and that's it. But there's a hierarchy, and because of the way it was put together, they have us under the DPW, and it's DPW that's in charge. And if we can't come to some compromise, that's why nothing gets done in 3 years.
Exactly.
So, there's no compromise in government here. We gotta figure a way of getting people in here that will compromise, because no one's really in charge. We can't have someone that thinks they're in charge of the whole thing. We need to compromise, we need to get the job done.
There is no compromising, because we've compromised as much as we're going to be able to compromise. The next steps is the next level up.
Right.
And I think we're at that point.
Right.
I don't think we have a choice, that we can't get this resolved, and it needs to get resolved. The DPW definitely cannot handle what we've asked them to do as far as mowing. It just doesn't seem to be happening. So the next level needs to be starting to look at and figure out
And
how
just
that's
so
going
you
to happen.
know, you were here at the time, Mike wasn't, but when I sat down with Jack Rodriguez at the time, and he said, David, we're down 3 people. We've been down 3 people. And I believe now they're still down people. And they don't have enough people to even do the cemeteries.
I don't think they're down the people on the DPW side. I think we never got that second person in for the seasonal workers. We have
Right.
one.
Right.
But I can tell you the one thing that Jack did, which was, and he called it, all hands on deck. If there was a holiday coming in, he would try, to the best of his ability, to grab all the gentlemen's and, at the DPW, plus the superintendent, and they all worked together regarding it.
Microphone is up to your face. I can't hear.
You can't hear anything?
I can hear you very well.
Oh, how can you not? Sorry.
The other two, I need.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Is this better? Okay, thanks.
Well,
Thanks for letting us know.
if I can inject, of course, our role, it's like the school committee's role, although we're a commission, they set policy, so they can't direct the superintendent on day-to-day, but they can write policies, and then the superintendent has to interpret those and implement them. And ours is to set regulations.
Right.
So we can write regulations and then, expect the DPW to interpret those and meet them. So, although we can't tell them the number of people to hire, when to mow and all, and the one thing we do is have an agreement in place. This is they'll keep the lawn within 2 to 5 inches. So we can, set policy that they then have to figure out on a
Right,
day-to-day
right.
basis how to meet it.
Now, here lies the other problem, and again, it needs to be talked at a higher level. Again, there needs to be, if this is to happen, is the charter. The charter is absolutely, one reads it one way, one reads it another. Is it day-to-day? Is it not day-to-day? There's a lot of changes that need to happen, but that doesn't happen overnight, as we all know. And if there's ever a charter review, you're looking at years before that's going to happen, and you're looking at years to get it through to change it. That's why with disinformation that's given to the public, with the putting a 501, or 501, what is it, 503?
501c3.
Thank you. Together isn't just going to happen overnight. There's a lot of information that has to happen, and again, it has nothing to do with the Cemetery Commission. The Cemetery Commission is here to stay. It's put in here by the state rules and regulations, and unless that charter changes that, which I tend to doubt that that's going to happen, and again, you're looking at a long time down the road, looking into that the disinformation to the residents, please understand if you have any questions regarding it, please reach out to the Cemetery Commission, and/or I will get the people in here to explain exactly what this means going forward. We've said it a couple of times. I'm going to get off of that because, again, it's a resident that keeps wanting to make that statement, and quite frankly, he doesn't have the information correct. So we'll leave that alone. So does it make sense? We can do one or two things. We can go on to your piece, and you can
Okay.
do the mowing piece, and then we'll come back to this because there's more information on here. Or do you want me to finish this first and then go into yours?
Oh, you could finish that if you'd like.
Okay, so we're going to do it quickly. So we have a problem right now that we're looking into, which is called this Allen Headstone Trust. It was brought to my attention about probably a month ago in a meeting with Heather and Mr. Bernard. And it's regarding a headstone that should be washed every 3 years. And the sad part is, the last payment was made in 2016, and where are we today? Nobody can find the document. I've looked into Rainmaker. I had a conversation with Rainmaker Sims. There is no documentation that is put into that software showing that there was any kind of trust. I can tell you that the finance director cannot find it. I can tell you that I know that information has been gone out to the individuals in the town that would handle the trust, which is the Treasury's Department, and nobody can find this. So this is something that's ongoing, which is very concerning because checks and balances are not being followed here. Where is this trust, and why is it, if you know that it was, last cleaning was 2016, if that's true, then and every 3 years, here we are in 2024. So I think, again, I keep hearing that it appears that Hathaway Memorials were the one that was doing the cleaning, and I know that Leominster Monument bought them. I would like to know why we haven't already reached out to Hathaway. What's the answer? Do they have it? Do they have a copy of the trust? Because we need that information. And that should have been sitting on the cemetery side to know what this was. It should never have been on the DPW side. I don't know why it was, but we are looking into it, and we will resolve that. Does everybody understand that, what we?
Well, my concern is if we know that there was a trust in the first place, and the town can't find it, I would think there would have to be a copy with the superintendent. I mean, he has copies of when people are buried and all that. So you would think that the town would have one copy, and another copy would stay with the superintendent, because...
It really shouldn't be with the superintendent at all. It should be with the cemetery commission, but that's
Well,
another...
whatever. I'm
right.
just saying that he has a lot of the documents now.
Correct.
That we don't have.
Correct,
So you would think it would be stapled with the
correct.
people that passed away.
But here's here's my point to my issue, is why isn't it in the software? Why hasn't a
Right.
copy of that been scanned into the
Right.
software? So it's my understanding from Mr. Bernard that he's not going to have the superintendent do anything right now because we're grass cutting and that's his main focus. So we're on our own to try to find it, and I will be talking with the Director of Finance after this meeting to discuss this, to see what the next steps, what he thinks the next steps should be, where it is going to fall on him as far as to find out this information.
Especially if there was an audit, who would be-
Correct,
who would be responsible.
Correct, absolutely.
Well, it says they made payment to Hathaway Memorial Cleaning, which is a private entity that was
Right,
now
but it was
taken.
sold to Leominster Monument.
Right.
So why are we involved in this type of particulars of cleaning just certain people's monuments?
All we're trying to do is help the situation. I was asked where the paperwork was when I knew nothing of it. I guess what my point was, and partly you are correct, Mike, is does it fall underneath the cemetery commission? I see part of it to know that the trust is there, that we make sure that something is done correctly, meaning with the town, or if it sits with Mylene or whoever. But you are correct. The actual making this happen as far as cleaning it and so on and so forth.
Yeah, it seems funny if we're gonna say we'll take on all of these pet funds for just certain individuals and not have it be, I just don't know how we manage, and they're making payments to a private company, and so how did this payment to Hathaway end up in Lunenburg's cemetery account?
Because of the fact that it's at North Cemetery and this is where they wanted it, meaning that however, we don't know, actually, let me back that up.
We don't know
a
if we
little bit.
ever received the funds.
Oh, no, they know, they can see it, meaning Ezekiel can see it,
See the funds?
can see the funds. We just
Okay.
can't see the paperwork. I'm only, as cemetery commissioner, or the commission is just trying to help in the process to find out what happened here and why didn't the cemetery know about this? Because I went back to Bill Tyler and asked him personally, did you know of this situation? And he said no. So I don't know why we didn't, where it is, again, you're talking about a gravestone, so on and so forth. In theory, you're right. We shouldn't be involved in some of this. But I think for us to have that hierarchy, when I have these sheets that are given to you right now, which are going to give you what our money is, the sale of lots, so on and so forth, there should be a line item. And I don't think there's a lot of trust, Michael, so my thought was, you put something on there that says, okay, we have this one trust, just wanted to let you know this is where it's at. Would you, and you guys tell me what your thoughts are, I'm just bringing
Well,
this to your attention.
it just brings up another topic that I'm thinking of, and it doesn't pertain to this, but if we're having problems finding this, how do we know that the stuff that goes into the
Rainmaker?
Rainmaker
Mm-hmm.
is accurate? Because they wait till the winter time to put it in,
Correct.
instead of doing it right then and there. So if we go into Rainmaker now, today, for something that was buried, you know, 3-4 months ago,
You won't see it,
I won't see it.
correct.
So,
And that's another
This
whole
brings up
problem.
another-
That brings another subject
Right,
up, which
right.
we'll go down through that, because I think it's in there a little bit. I could tell you again that if the document is somewhere, it would be in the boxes that are probably, the old boxes that are underneath the desks. Now, in all fairness, I looked at the grave, the Allen grave site, as far as the different ones that are buried there. And I can tell you that there was one done in 1968, there was one done in 1919, there was done in 1923. So again, some of these are very old, so it's not going to be the superintendent that would have that per se, except for the document that may have been passed down to him. Whenever this trust, see, we can't even tell you when the trust was, well, I guess you can find out when the trust was actually put into place, but there's no paperwork for you to read. So that's the problem.
Okay.
And that's all I'm bringing up, like I said, for the cemetery commission to be well-reversed in it, to understand what's happening behind the scenes, but
so I just have a question, because you have down here the account number. I have a trust for my personal, okay? And when I have to present it to the bank, they want a copy of it, okay? If we have an account number and we're paying Hathaway, it has to go, the bank, if you set it up with the bank,
we don't know, again.
that's what I'm saying.
Right.
So we have to find out
But again, this isn't a we thing, this is, I have to, right, go back, I'm just bringing it to
saying
you.
Whoever's taking care of this
Correct.
should find out what bank it's through and find out, because they need a copy of a trust when you go through a bank.
But we don't know how that was set up, so
Correct.
that's what we don't know, and that's why this is getting out of, and Mike, you are correct.
Oh, right, because this is money in our account,
Right,
the town's, but the
Right.
trust. I remember, while working on a Eagle project at North Cemetery, Todd Holman mentioning that there was a trust, and it was hundreds of years old. It had been established for cleaning, so maybe this is it.
and this is
So
probably
this-
the
This has
one.
been sitting in a trust account, and like you say, every X number of years, it's cleaned.
Right,
So this has been established for quite
right.
some
So
time.
Ezekiel is just putting this on now because he and I had talked about it, that I think it's a good thing that we have it, because now we know there's only $396.47 left in the trust. Eventually, the family, if there's still someone alive, does this trust go null and void? Or does someone in the family, if there's someone still alive, put more money in to keep that cleaning of that stone? So this is what we haven't had. So Ezekiel, again, and probably Karen behind the scenes, found this information and just trying to bring us up to speed on it and what's transpired or what's happened.
Well, it's got interest here too. Is the town giving interest on funds on it when they set up, the town
I don't
is,
know.
the town is
See, if we
putting
don't,
it in certain
that I don't know.
interest-bearing account?
I don't know the answer to that. So. Good morning.
Good morning.
Do you want to come up here, or do you want to set, it's totally up to you.
What, on stage, you mean?
I'm sorry? Okay. We appreciate you coming in. So Heather, we'll go back to what we just talked about, but I want to go over a couple of other things to get through this, because I know you've got time and we've got to keep going here. So the one thing I want to go to, so have we finished about the trust?
Yeah, it's really out of our hands, yeah.
And Heather, you're looking in, I know that the finance is looking into that trust, is that correct?
I'm
The
sorry,
Allen- I'm sorry, the Allen Trust, Headstones Trust?
finance, meaning accounting office.
Yes,
Correct.
okay, because Ezekiel and I have been talking about that, and we just put this in, so we still don't have any paperwork on it.
I haven't seen any.
Okay. What I'm being told at the DPW is that Todd is too busy with grass cutting, and that it may be in some of those boxes that need to go through. Not to say that it is. I can tell you that I went into Rainmaker yesterday, and I went through the whole area, and there is absolutely no paperwork that's been put in there.
Okay.
So, and we'll talk about that piece. So I just wanted to make sure that you were part of that, too. Okay. So, moving on, we're okay with that now? All right. So there is a headstone that this party would like to do that is a 4x1 headstone. The family owes 6 plots. I thought it was 4. My apologies if, I'm not sure if Bill is right or I'm right, because I thought I looked in it yesterday and there was 4, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, from 4 to 6 plots that are there, and this gentleman would like to center, having a stone, kind of like what we just did a month ago with someone else in there, and they'd like to just center it over the either 4 to 6 plots. Does anybody have any problem with that?
Well, I guess, is it Todd or Bill saying that it's, let's see, what does he say?
They agree that it's okay, but they don't agree with the fact
Out
that,
of character with other existing headstones, so I recommend not allowing it.
but they just allowed it. Meaning, they brought it to our attention of another headstone that's in South Cemetery, and we did the same exact thing, and that was fine, to Mr. Bernard. Yes, he's saying it's okay because there's no reason that they can as far as going around it with the grass or cutting and so on and so forth. But it's just the fact, the precedence of it, My thought is this: I trust the public, and I trust the residents in this town, that if by chance there was a case that we couldn't do it because there was a unknown reason from the DPW that it just could not be done, and we as a board decided to say, okay, if you really can't do it and here's the reason, I would hope that the public would then agree to that and say, okay, so-and-so has it over here, but I can't because I don't have the room for it, then it's just going to have to be that an answer is no for this committee if that's what we decide. Does anybody have,
As far as I think they paid for the plots, instead of having each plot a headstone, they just want one headstone.
right,
For all the plots.
which should be better
Yeah.
than having the small individual headstones, because that's going to take more time to go in and cut the grass. This way is a cleaner
It's a
way.
cleaner way.
Yeah, I'm just, and I look at the cemeteries.
And,
On south, most of the new burials are in back.
yeah, and that's where this one is.
And we're saying, if it's not interspersed with the existing headstones, we could say, and call it a new burial area, you will accept deviations from the rules.
I just don't
I
see,
still, you can get a lot of odds and ends to, and there's no picture here of what this is gonna be. Is it still gonna be rectangular, gray, and just bigger? But what
It's
is
only a
four?
4.1.
What is one? What's 4 by 1?
So 4 by 1 is 4 feet and then, no,
I'm assuming
Yeah.
it's 4 feet high by 1 foot
Right.
thick, but how wide and 4 feet? What's a standard headstone height? They're not 4 feet high. They're
Would it be
probably 2.5.
reasonable to ask for a picture of what
Right.
they're looking to put in?
well, again, I've been over there, and again, all he's asking is just a 4-foot, so the 4-foot headstone will fit and cause no problems with maintenance. So it's gonna be 4 feet, kind of like what we had for a bench, and it's just gonna be 4 feet long. The problem is it's stated again that, if the cemetery commission decides that that's okay, then we vote on it and then we approve it.
Yeah.
Now, we just approved, just so you, if you remember, we just approved one that the gentleman had his son unfortunately pass away suddenly, and where he has either 4 or 6 on his side. What we're doing is, we're moving it to one side or the other, and he is adding one more, headstone in there, but it's only a smaller one
Right,
to
right.
accommodate. So he's going to have 2 in there versus this one that's gonna have 1. I don't see, I guess I'm the type that I think the public, if you say you can do this and then you can't do that, I think to keep it open, I don't see the harm in it. That's just my personal opinion. You guys have to vote on this too, so it's also your vote.
Yeah. I just see people doing odd and, different designs and all, and
But we have that today, Mike,
do-
that's the
do-
thing.
so,
I don't see the harm in it, as long as it's properly done and we get the DPW to look at it to make sure.
and then what do the people around him expect? You come to visit your loved one, and you've got your stone, and then all of a sudden, there's a bigger monument, and I don't know,
I
just
don't
from
see
visiting my
people
parents,
complaining about that, because
yeah,
my wife's headstone is bigger than the ones next to it.
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
And no one's, in fact, they come to me and they say, that's beautiful,
yeah,
what you've done.
yeah.
I guess that's the way I look at it, Mike, but again, I don't want to inter that. I want to make sure that we all vote and, understand what we're doing here. I just think that I've never had anybody complain, I've never had anyone, the only complaint I ever got was, again, the DPW complaining because we had a gift given on another, a bench that was 4 feet. There are 4-foot benches in the cemetery. There's 3 and 4, depending on the location. And if the location allows a 4-foot, that's what I believe the parties should have. If they can't do it because it can't fit in there, then they have to accept that we can only do 3.
And according to the DPW's comments here, however, it's not allowed by the Cemetery Commission rules and regulations, we can, allow exceptions periodically.
Correct.
Out of character for the existing headstone, but I would think that he would say, geez, this is a good idea because now we can get the mower around it.
Correct.
We don't have 4 headstones that we have to weed whack. We only got 1 that we have to
Well,
weed whack.
it's two things.
Yeah.
One is convenience of mowing, but the other is the aesthetics and other people who have already put in plots and headstones and are visiting. What do you want to see
Just 1 out of 4
the-
graves?
the area look like?
Right.
But-
I just think it looks cleaner, like you said, to have
Yeah.
1 headstone with the 3, it's either 3 or it's either 4 or it's 6 plots there.
Now, if we didn't approve it, would he just get 2 headstones?
I don't know.
Well, there's how many plots? 6
Well, no,
plots.
so
He
he
could get
could-
6 headstones.
You would get 6.
Right.
Which would make it worse for the
Well,
mower.
no, if you had, because 2 plots, so it would be 3
3
headstones.
headstones.
3 headstones,
Right. So 3 versus 1.
yeah.
And he's just making it a little bit longer, and he's just, again, it's centered for all of them being there.
Right.
And if we go back to the headstone that we just talked about, the trust, that headstone is huge. Not huge, but it's bigger than most.
Right.
We have several in the north and the south cemeteries, that's all.
Well, I guess then we should revisit the regulations too and change them. I mean, because if this is allowable, it should always be allowable.
Well, no, I don't, this is my 2 cents on that. I think we need to keep it the way it is, only because if there is a situation that the DPW really feels, like I said, I'm trying to meet halfway with them, that if there was a situation that if they came back and said, Nancy, it's not gonna work, and here's the reasons why, and we talked about it, and we all agreed and said, you know what, okay, we've gotta go back to the person and say, we can't accommodate it because of X, Y, and Z. I'd like to keep that open that way, that open communication.
It's an exception.
It's an exception.
There's always exceptions to everything.
Right.
I mean, and we can talk about that in the future, about that, if you have any suggestions when you look at rules and regulations, but those were just changed less than a year ago.
Right.
That's my only point on that.
Yeah. My only concern is people are, have bought their plots, they're putting headstones in, and then they come back and see this big headstone. And, it's breaking up the aesthetics of the area.
But, Mike, if you,
I'm just saying.
No,
I've visited my parents,
yeah,
my
no, I want
in-laws
you to.
areas that are
Yeah.
growing, and you just see some headstones that you're like, oh,
But I mean,
who
look
was
at,
allowed to put that in?
but look at the ones that are already there.
Right.
And I'm not gonna say the person's name, but there's one in there that has, I think, again, either 4 or 6, and they have one that's super long, tall, but he's not the only one. There's
Right,
other ones.
right,
That's all I'm
right.
saying is
Okay.
that, again, I don't wanna change anyone's vote. That's not what I'm here for. I just want you to vote the way you wanna
I mean,
vote.
we got headstones in there that are tall, as tall as almost a flag.
Right,
And that's not the regulations,
right,
And that was
Okay.
approved
And that's
prior to
approved.
us.
yeah.
So, and some of them are back years. So.
Oh, yeah,
there
the
are
historical
exceptions there.
ones are historical,
Right.
that's what makes the cemeteries what they are. These,
Right.
But now we just see a whole bunch of different shapes and benches and this and that, and so maybe we have a regulation for the new area versus the
And we could
historical
talk about
part.
that.
Talk about that.
And
yeah.
we can talk
Historical
about
part
that.
and new part. Do we put up a little bit of a, you want to walk into this area, you can see
And
new
we can talk
headstone.
about
We
that,
can
yeah.
talk about that, yeah.
Yeah. No, I want everyone to,
Yeah.
you know, have their voice here, so.
Sure.
Heather, is there anything you want to?
Just to Mike's point, I think the aesthetics and the overall planning for the cemetery, that's a cemetery commission function, how you want your cemeteries to look. So I think that's a good point. The exceptions, what would be something that wouldn't be allowed, I guess? Because I think having some sort of criteria of what's not allowable creates less for the public, that their request is more objective than subjective.
And I think we've talked about this prior, I mean, in other meetings that we've talked about, like for instance, and someone that comes in and wants to put a picture of a cat because that was the person's, you know, a monument of a cat. And I'm just going way out there, but I mean, something that's just inappropriate, or someone that, you know, they have a picture of the person, meaning they literally have a statue of the person that passed away, or, you know, again, that's just, again, you won't see that in a cemetery. But I have seen some crazy things in some of the cemeteries that they have allowed. So I just using that as an example, but again, I guess I believe in the town, and I believe in the residents in the town, that they would never come to us and do something inappropriate or ask us to do something that was not appropriate.
Now then, will this be the only headstone?
Yes.
And the person will be limited to that. This is the stone.
This is a stone, and then they would have, you know, on the back of all the names there, they would still have a footstone, or a foot marker, I should say. They can still have that, but they would only have the one stone.
Okay.
And then you would have all the names.
And it's going to be a larger stone, but we don't know the stone material, the finish,
He's going, you know what he does is, we have gone with Lemonster Monument if people, not that they have to go to them, but they're our vendor of choice, and so that's why they came to us, meaning they were told to come back to the Cemetery Commission to get permission to have this made, and
Right.
so on and so forth.
Now, if it's just a gray granite
Or whatever color.
with a polished face and engraved and bigger, but if it's going to be black marble with gold inlay, and so I don't, I mean, without having a picture and be able to go to the area,
I'd gone to the
I
area.
don't think it well,
yeah,
when any of us pass away, we don't ask for the people to give us a picture of what it's gonna look like. It could be black with gold lettering.
Right.
It could be
Right.
red with white lettering. I
Right.
mean, like ours, we don't really ask, the commission doesn't ask for a
Right.
picture of what it's, all we do say is
just
you
a
can't.
large
you can't
could
engrave
diminish
it.
other people's stones in the area. You go in and put your own regulation stone of gray or pink, and then somebody puts it big.
Well,
What's wrong with a black and gold and stands out compared to someone next to it that's
Right.
just a
Right.
gray one?
gray one, yeah.
Yeah, I don't, I mean, that's how they look at the person that passed away, their loved ones,
Yeah.
as they stand out, and I don't see anything wrong with that. If you want your loved one to stand out over someone else's. I mean,
Okay.
you're entitled to, that's just my opinion.
Okay. I think though, too, though, we should revisit these and start to propose, here's one we will grant exceptions. If you have X number of plots, you know, this is the headstone size per plot. But if you have 3 and you want to do 1 stone, you can put a bigger stone,
I'm gonna look into that.
as long as it's proportional.
Yep. I can tell you that there is another stone that's coming in that we voted on again, and this was, again, before you came on, Mike, it was probably several months ago, that there was a picture and it was a bench. But it was it looked like it was a log bench, and it hasn't been created yet, or I know they ordered it, but it hasn't come in yet. So that gentleman wanted to make sure, and we did not feel, again, it was our privy to basically tell him, okay, you can't have a log bench there. That meant something to him, and it will be unique, it will be well done because it's Leominster Monument that's doing it, but you won't see another one probably in the cemetery like that. He just wanted to know of the size, and that's what we went through. That's why I'm saying is, me personally, I don't have a problem with, again, as long as it's tasteful, as long as Leominster Monument, and I know Leominster Monument well enough, that they're never going to do something, they're always gonna let either the superintendent know or us know, again, that here's what they're making and this is what it is. The only reason I'm saying that we can put this to July to do a vote if you feel better, and I can find out what the picture looks like if you feel better. The only thing that worries me is I don't remember if this gentleman is a burial coming up soon that they need to get it ordered. That's my only point.
Okay.
That's my, now, I don't know, how would you like to proceed? I've told them that I put it on the agenda this time because I thought they needed to know. I'm just trying to see how I can get a picture of it without, you have to bring it back into another meeting unless we do another special meeting for just that, if you feel more comfortable, Mike.
I think, as we approve these, we should take our regulations and redline them as we will accept these changes, because we're accepting them. And so somehow we gotta make sure that, like the superintendent states, requests will come in for bigger and bigger headstones. And then, as you're saying, people want to do odder shapes than the traditional stones. And you come there, and you put your plot in, and your loved ones are there, and then you see things popping up.
But you are,
And it's like, well, who allowed this, I mean, from personal experience,
Right,
You go to visit, and the person next has got a pictured engraving, and they got bonsai plants growing, and it's like,
again, I think the most,
and then various shapes to stones.
we already have that today at North
benches and-
Cemetery.
So,
That's,
well, I know, I see that. And
Right.
It's like, here's a traditional cemetery, and then right at the top, all these variants are coming in.
What
So,
if we just,
I mean, maybe it's none of my business,
what
like
if we
you said, but
decide
still.
on
it's-
this, but we tell them, like Mike says, this is the maximum you can do for a size? I mean, if we know what the grave is, we know there's 6 of them, and he wants to center it, then we know the maximum size that it has to be.
he requested a 4x1 headstone.
But 4 feet by
Right.
1 foot, I'm assuming 1 foot is the thickness.
Right, the thickness.
So 4 feet high or 4 feet
4 feet.
wide by a traditional, headstones
I
are.
don't think we ever said how high, because some of these are really high.
Okay, so he's just going in width,
Right.
Width and depth.
and then we don't regulate height, so.
We don't
people-
regulate height.
People could do a 2.5 foot by 6 feet.
Yeah.
No, I mean, we would start, again, there are a few headstones that over there, and I think it's the cross that's over there in the North Cemetery, that was done before you, this was what Bill Tyler was on, that it was approved. It's probably one of the tallest crosses that we have in there. Can it be any more than that? No. That was an exception, again, that the party and the reasons why they wanted it, and then it was granted.
Okay.
Do you feel like you can vote today, or
Yeah, I can vote today.
are you sure?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
I make a motion that we allow the person to have a headstone 4x1 in South Cemetery.
And it will either be over 4 plots or 6 plots, because that may be the only typo. I don't know. When I say typo, I have it, I should have looked yesterday in Rainmaker. But anyway, it's either going to be across 4 plots or 6.
Okay.
I'll second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. All right, Mike, I know I've got to get you out of here, so let's, do you want to go to your,
Sure. I've mentioned this before. I have joined a number of Facebook cemetery sites, and on one of them, they mentioned the use of using the robot mowers. And one of the statements was they can work well in established historical areas where people aren't visiting, and adding any type of new plantings or mementos, that. So that got me interested in looking into them. I know there's a gentleman in town down by the Whalum area, and he's doing his entire large slope front lawn with one. And if you go by while it's out there, it's just kind of creeping along. So it's like, well, okay, that looks good for probably about a half acre. But are there other models and sizes that would do larger? And basically, I looked into it, and they're kind of in the 0.8 to 1.25 acre range, then 2.5 acre range, and 6 acre range. And I think that a lot of that is more on the ability of the electronics and GPS and all that to provide control over the area, as it is on the size of the mower to mow that area. But there's like Husqvarna that makes them. There's Mammotion, Luba. There's also Yarbo, where they have this looks like something designed as a lunar rover, but small, and it's actually a core module, and then it has a mower and leaf blower and snow blower attachment. But it's still a fairly compact unit. So I did have pictures. I can send this to you on what they look like. And the prices range in about $2,500 all the way up to $5K plus for the Yarbo with attachments. Depends on how many attachments you buy. And then the mowing capacity. So the smaller ones, the 1 acre, look like pretty much, they have charge and then mow times from, charge of an hour, mow time of 2 hours, and then recharge, or charge for probably 2.5 hours, mow for 3 hours. And so you just look at, okay, here's the cycle. First you need to charge, then you go out and mow. Now you have to come back and recharge.
and it's 3 hours, you said?
Yeah, 3 hours, and say the one that's a 1.25 acre rated would do 16,200 feet per charge. And then it would have to come back, so what's an acre? 43,000 square feet, so it'd probably need 3 runs to go out and do that, So that's gonna be a couple days, it's gonna charge, recharge,
Right.
but it's unattended and it's just doing its thing.
So I'm trying to picture this. How would it work in a cemetery where you have some empty land in the beginning of North Cemetery, but then you have all the plots So.
Well, yeah.
How would you program something like this to go around to all, or does it hit something and then turn and hit something and then turn?
No. They actually have, of course, they're running by GPS and all, and they say they're accurate with like an inch. And they have cameras and a collision avoidance and a bumper bar. So 99, or all of the time, you would expect it's seeing the stones and mowing next to it. And if you look at, of course, how it's laid out, the cemetery and the stones are almost terraced, you know? If you look between sets of stones, it's like a terrace, and then you would move up a little and go down the next. So it's not like you're driving and here's a stone, here's a stone, here's a stone. You're just, going down
An aisle.
an
So it
aisle.
knows the difference between grass and mulch? Because if the mulch, and right now how they have to weed whack around them. it's-
Oh, so that, yeah, and this is the point. You probably the best advantage would be to use it in the established areas where people aren't planting, mulching. You're just mowing, and there's grass, stone.
Oh,
So
okay.
my thought is it's to keep your manpower to where you have to pay attention to all the intricacies, in the newly established areas, and then use a robot to do the
Well,
existing.
we're not going to have the
historic-
headstones.
Right.
Okay, so there's ledge and we don't use headstones, okay.
I mean, these things can go over anything, they're four-wheel drive, all-wheel drive. And they have the cameras, so that's also a security thing, they say. You can go in and watch what your mower's doing and seeing.
So
But-
I would like to, because I know we're running out of time, and
Yeah.
I'm going to get through some things, but I think your presentation, again, Heather, this was more of a robotic type thing for the future. Something to talk about, I think, like we said, the green that has in the town, to see if there's something, because here's the problem, is there's no electricity at North Cemetery or South Cemetery, so it will have a problem with not having electricity. So I think there's some key things that we still need to look into. Maybe you could call that gentleman that does the green downtown.
Yeah, see the green.
And see if there's
communities
anything
people.
that maybe we could get that may be something that maybe we could get some money from, as far as a grant or something to do with that. And keep it only in the areas that we think. Do you mind keeping that project on and you keep building on it?
Yeah, sure, I'll do that. Because the other thought too is if you do a trial and it doesn't work that well for the cemetery, maybe out in front of the Ritter, the TCP.
Right, maybe the town would,
And
yep,
you just free up those areas and your staff can go to the areas that you need people.
okay.
So maybe it's something else. You can look at areas in town that would benefit from this, and now you can focus your staff on areas that,
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so the next piece I have on here that Mr. Bernard had sent was the Rainmaker, the features, next steps, so on and so forth. I can tell you again that, and this has always been my fear, is that since I got on the Cemetery Commission, is the paperwork is not complete in Rainmaker. There is areas that there's just no documentation in it, meaning they haven't been scanned in, for whatever reason that they didn't get scanned in. I understand that he likes to save everything until the winter. I don't agree with that, only because, and here's my thought, and you both can chime in, is the fact that if somebody passes away, we'll say a month or so ago, you won't see that person if somebody comes, another family member, or someone comes to go be at that lot, they won't know that it's there because, well, they'll know that it's there because they've had the funeral, but what I mean by that, someone that doesn't know the area that goes in, you won't see that anywhere in the documentation, and it won't even be entered into the SIMS program or Rainmaker. I think that's too many months. If you do it, like for right now, I know that last year we had 10 burials, full burials, and we had 22 cremations. If you only took one set of paperwork and put it in per week, let's say that's all the time you have, is just 1 hour, it should not take you that long to get it all in. So is there any reason that you can think of, Heather, why he can't do that during the year, during the time of the months going forward, than to waiting until the winter time to put this paperwork in?
I know he's out mowing most of the other, during the spring and summer and fall, doing the burials then.
There isn't too
I
many
don't know.
burials.
I don't know that those documents aren't scanned in. What Bill indicates here is that there's lots showing online as available, but some are undersized or in roadways, and that updating would be completed in the winter. So I don't know that.
Okay, well, I think that's something, and again, we can go on and talk about that more, but
Or
there,
even maybe put it in, he's not mowing during the rainy weather. I mean, we've had a lot of rain, so he's not mowing then.
And that's when he usually does his office work, right?
Right, so he
When
can put it
there's
into,
bad weather, yeah.
he can put it in the,
right, so that's what I'm saying, is
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be the winter time. It can be,
I don't know if it's only done in the winter. I think it may be a bulk of it because there is more time available in the winter. But I don't know that recent burials, when he has downtime in the office, that he doesn't have to be out at the cemeteries. So I
And
can
the
ask
only-
Bill about that.
the only other thing that I'm wondering is, if he does it all in the winter, I would think the DPW director, he's not working in the cemetery, so the DPW director's using him someplace else in the wintertime.
Right, he
He's not
plows.
home.
He plows.
He plows, so how
But it
does he
doesn't fall
find?
all the time.
how
well,
does he-
yeah,
Meaning it doesn't snow all the time, or is
Right.
it?
Right.
So,
But the
Right.
director uses him someplace else, because he's not in the cemeteries. So how does he find time, how does the director give him time to do stuff for Rainmaker in the wintertime, when he should be helping the other guys, and he doesn't have time to do it when he's working for the cemetery?
when it's required to go out for snow and ice, right, that's when he would go out. But, that's not every day in the winter that it's going to be.
well, then, again, I guess all the boxes that are underneath or by the superintendent's desk area of old stuff that needs to be put into Rainmaker should have been put in. We put that software in 2010, and then we upgraded it in 2019. So documentation, like for instance, just an example of this Allen Headstone Trust is not in there. So if they knew about it and nobody else has a copy of it, the one place that it should be entered is in there, and it's not there. Now, is it because it's so old that, again, those boxes haven't been gone through? I'm guessing that may be the reason. But all I'm saying is, if we've had that since 2010, and however when the superintendent started, is when things that should have been put in there have not been scanned in. I talked to Rainmaker about it. They did the initial starting of scanning. They did that in around that 2010 timeframe, and they've never done anything since. So anything that's not in there is not in there because it hasn't been updated and put in. That's been my concern, and that's what has always been my concern, that it is not complete in Rainmaker. I can tell you that today because I've looked at it at a high level. I haven't looked at every single piece. But I just think if we have a software, my thought is, why are we not utilizing it for the best of the best? And that's all I'm saying with that.
Like a lot of things, it comes down to time of when availability
But it's in his
to do
job
this.
title, Heather. It's in his job title that he has to do this. So that's all I'm saying.
But if there's an exorbitant amount of work to be done, you can say it's in his job title, but only as time allows. Like, a person only has so many hours in
But
a
it doesn't
week.
say that in his job title, only time allowed. All I'm saying is, that's all I'm saying is, and we can move on, but all I'm saying is, it doesn't say that. It says in his job title that he is to do that work.
Well,
And if it,
I don't know why I would have a guy who's got his skill set sitting doing data entry if you can take the forms and give it to somebody and say, go populate.
This sounds like a project that,
and maybe that's what should
like-
happen,
like
that's all I'm
the
saying.
DPW admin or something, here.
I know
You
she
it's in
wouldn't-
Your
yeah.
in basket.
I know.
No, but you know,
think,
it's a paperwork and.
But that's if-
Let somebody who's,
If Rainmaker had initially done scanning for the town, maybe that's a project that they can be hired to complete all the historical.
Okay, and they've already given me a
Yeah.
price. Again, this is again, not, they haven't looked at the project. But if you do a true migration, you're looking at probably $50,000, because I just talked with them on Monday, to $100,000. Is that where the town wants to spend its money to do that? I'm not saying yay or nay. All I'm saying is, and this is a rough figure, again, it is not, when I talked to Rainmaker about this, we had discussed, what something like that might look like. And again, we can't tell them how much paperwork yet, because we really don't know. So does it make sense that you bring them out one time and say, okay, if you guys came out here, can we pay you X amount of dollars to come look at this and then give us a rough idea of how much this is gonna cost us?
They should be able to provide, a quote based on the number of boxes and of materials
Then
and stuff, so-
then can we get that from Mr. Bernard? If I can get exactly what that is, then maybe I'll talk to
Follow up
Rainmaker.
with
That would
the
be great.
director.
Okay. Now, the most important thing that I think we're really not legally doing a good job with, basically, and I'll be the first to admit on the cemetery side, is this illumination of the lack of illumination for these flags. This has been going on for years, and I am embarrassed to say that it's still not done. I did go out and I purchased 2 of them just to try. Mr. Bernard looked at it, and the DPW director, and said that I didn't pick the right ones, which, okay, I understand. So he's looking into something for us to see what the cost, but I can tell you that to put electricity over at that area, I thought we may not have it listed here, when the DPW director went to the DPW capital planning piece of it. It may be in here somewhere that states it, and I want to say, and I could be wrong, so you know what, I'm not even going to say the number because I'm not 100% sure what that would entail. But I can tell you, when this building was built, the first thing we asked at that point in time, do you need electricity? No, 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 we don't need any electricity. There doesn't need to be anything. That's the time you do something. Again, what was the plan? Why was it done this way? Why didn't you put electricity in? If now you're looking at it like, oh, we do need electricity. So that's my concern, is we're spending yet again, if this is true and they can't do it any other way, we're going to be spending X amount of dollars to go in to put a pole up to do whatever they're going to do. They had talked about putting it underground. That's going to be even more pricey, because you're going to have to dig underneath, you're going to have to go across the highway, you're going to have to then repatch that. It's not a simple task. So it'll be interesting to see with what the DPW director comes back with. Heather, can you be part of that too, just to make sure that gets done?
Which part? That they
Is
get a
getting
quote?
the electricity to find out what that quote is going to be
Can I
for
be-
illumination of the flags.
Are you asking just to follow up with Bill on?
Yes.
Get the quote? Yep, I
Okay.
can certainly do that.
I got one, on the paperwork we got from the director, DPW director, June 2024 report from the DPW director. Second bullet down, and I'm trying to figure out what he means by this. The American flags on the flagpoles have raised and lowered as required. Now, is that just if someone passed away that was important? Or does the superintendent go there every day and raise and lower? I know he doesn't because he leaves at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock and it's not sunset until later.
Correct.
So I pretty much know the answer, but why is it written this way, that it's raised and lowered as required?
Right, because we've
Because-
never, right, exactly.
It's like, okay, let's tell
Do
them.
you know that, Heather,
Let's
at
tell
all?
them we do
It's
it
probably when the state,
State
when the
mandates.
state mandates.
Okay.
that's what I would assume
Yeah.
without knowing more information.
So again, being, having, in the military, being respectful to the flag, there's 3 areas that need to be illuminated over at the different cemeteries. So 3 in North Cemetery, I think just 1 in South Cemetery, and then there's none at Fish Street. So that's how many illumination we should have, because there's a couple of flags that are out there on the building, which is the cemetery building. You've got the building on the niche wall, that's got a flag on it, and then you've got the ones in the middle. So we've got to figure out the best way to handle this, to get these flags under the guidance and rules and regulations of what's respect to our flags, which I think are very important to, obviously, a lot of people, and it needs to be corrected. And I can tell you that I'm getting more and more people seeing this, and they want it corrected, and as they should. So again, there should be a follow-up from the DPW director, and he did say, I'm sorry, Heather, he did say, the DPW director, that he'll follow up with them. So the MWD Electric is who he's going to check and find out how much this is going to cost.
Okay,
Is that
so
through
that's
munis-
running AC to the flagpole. I think at this point, we need to have electric on site.
Well, this may be pricey to the town. That's all I'm saying.
Too bad.
No, I know, I'm just
Get
saying.
a price.
I know.
Do you
All right,
know-
so
do you
let's get
know
a price.
Who's MWD? Is that a private contractor, or is that
It's
the
that's
like
a
municipal.
contractor that you
It's a
use.
contractor.
Yeah,
private
I mean,
contractor?
I think we should ignore the price. It's not 1870 anymore.
Well, the only thing
There's no
I was
reason
looking
there
at-
shouldn't be electricity at both cemeteries.
Is I was looking to get solar panels, and that's what I bought these lights for. They were $200 lights that I got for, there was a huge savings, so I thought if this could work. Now, maybe we can use, again, I don't even know if we can use it for that, but maybe we could set it up somewhere so it could hit the flag that's at one of the buildings or whatever. And then we only need the one flag in the middle for both South and North Cemetery. So both would have to have electricity put in. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so that's going to be a follow-up because we don't have the answers to that. The other piece is, there has been discussion, as you heard today, by Mr. Rogers, too. He's not the only one that's brought this to the cemetery attention. And I think Mr. Bernard was wrong with the price on the oldest section of gravestones washing and repair. He tells me that it's $22,000. That's not the price I have that went to the capital planning. The repair of the headstones from 1700 to 1800s was $38,500. I've got to find out if maybe something's changed that I'm unaware of regarding that, so we need to figure out if but that is something that I think some of the people would like to see in this town. Now, do we have all that money in the budget? Again, if we look at what we have today and how we would do it, but again, now that we've only got the $10,000 that's coming in, which won't hit until July anyway for the sale of lots, or the capital planning, the capital planning that we've had put in, we don't have enough. We will, for 2025, or FY 2025, we'll have about $17,536. In the fall, we have to do at Fish Street, we have money, we have a maintenance that's coming up as far as license for Rainmaker that's coming up that I know we need to pay for. I know we talked about trying to look at the skirt. So there's a few things I'd like to, again, if the Cemetery Commission agrees on, we cannot get another bit of money, correct, Heather, until November. Is that when the town comes back to vote again if we wanted to get another article?
That's the next town meeting, special town meeting in the
Right.
fall, and that's usually to balance the budget.
So let me ask you a question. Is there any time that if we decide that we wanted to do some more projects that we could come, we know we have the money here, is that easily to pull out or is that not? Does it have to come to a town meeting to vote on that for an article?
You're talking about sale of cemetery lots?
Mhm.
Yes, that would be a town meeting vote.
Okay. So that would be the November time where we
Yes.
couldn't pull from that, okay. Okay, so we need to discuss a few more on that to see what that actual price is and see if we can do it or not. The other piece is we go back to the DPW has no funding on projects for the $50,000 to grow the grass better, to put in some where we have the grub issues. Again, we don't have all that money either, so it's, again, there's gonna have to be either the capital plan, we have to go beyond, to go to them again, which everything is put under here, and I wanna make sure that, again, that the money that was put into the capital plan is all of DPW's plus the cemetery. It's not just the cemetery, it's not just the DPW. We put everything in together, it just shows what it is. And this does not mean that it's gonna happen all in one year. So I think there's some misinformation that's been given to the town's residents that the Cemetery Commission is not trying to spend your money. What we're trying to do is we're trying to figure out projects that we can handle, that we do have the money to try to help out in any way we can. And I definitely, as I've said to the finance, I have not said to the Finance Committee, but if they have any questions at all, please feel free to call us to, go over this with us. Would be more than happy to do that. So we can do one or two things. We can go back and kind of fill, Heather, have you got a few more minutes or no?
Yeah, can I just,
Sure.
like, if I read this, the grub control and all, put down seed, cover it with top dressing. We've got the brush area, the old dump, and there's probably hundreds of yards of compost, if not all the way down to loam. Are we looking at that? To me, I'm thinking back
The dump,
when
you
I
said?
was
Where was this? Where's this?
this is off of Young's Road.
Oh, okay, the dump area.
I mean, if you've been down there during
Right.
brush, you're first driving by hundreds of yards of compost. So why would we pay for compost?
I didn't know so that's a good point. Heather, is that something we could?
I would have to look into that. I know, I have talked to the director about, disposing of that
Right.
compost and putting it out to bid, because there's a value to,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, oh, well, we would get money for some company that wants to come in and
Right.
buy that from
Right.
us. But certainly, it's our material. Why wouldn't we keep, 50 or 100 yards for Lunenburg projects instead of having these landscaping companies bill us for loam?
yeah, that's a good question. I can
And-
ask if it's in a form that,
Right.
is,
No, you had mentioned at select board meeting, you had hired 2 summer workers?
yes.
Did they both?
No, so we, both were hired, and ratified, appointed. One did start, the other one was supposed to start and never ended up, and he backed out.
Oh, okay.
Is there any more that have come
It was
forward?
reposted, the director was supposed to have an interview this week. That person, backed out of the interview, so that
I don't,
we're still soliciting, but
and why is it a 19-hour-a-week position?
that's, benefits is kicks in over a certain number of hours per year.
Yeah, I just don't know who would work 19 hours a week and,
That's the problem.
unless they could,
Yeah.
had another job.
Well, and that's what
versus
had
maybe
us,
farming out, are there college student, I mean, these were always college student jobs, you come back for the summer, and you got out earlier in college than high school, and you picked up one of these jobs to work through the summer, and it was 40 hours a week.
right. I think we got lucky for the last
Yeah,
year and the year before, we had two women that really did a great job, and we were lucky to have them, and they had another job, so that's why the 19 hours worked for
oh,
us.
okay.
So that's that piece. Getting back to the compost piece, you just reminded me, we have where the cemetery superintendent is moving things around, burials is moving, kind of like that same kind of situation that we already have at North Cemetery right now, that are in the areas that I'm concerned about could be conservation issues. If we move that could be enough compost underneath that we don't have to go anywhere else. It's right there at North Cemetery. Now, for South Cemetery, it should be the same thing,
Right,
because in the
right.
back there.
Yeah, yeah, and if you're gonna shell out 50,000, why not hire an extra cemetery worker? And my thought would be, when they're done mowing, they just take the truck over to Young's Road and shovel in a yard and come back and shovel out and treat a spot, and they go back and forth, that's their summer job. Here's what I did on my summer job.
Right, right.
I mowed lawns and that's what we all did. So I think some of these numbers, it's great, yeah, if we want to hire a professional company and pay them all our money, but why aren't we using what we have? And
No, you bring that
that's-
to the point, and that's good. And no, and please understand, that was just one person.
Right.
Maybe someone else's isn't, again, that, I had
Right.
Tanner
Right.
come in to give me his expertise on it, so maybe there's someone else there, and again, it would have to go to bid and so on and so forth. We just had him come in to kind of give us a rough, what it would cost would be, and basically an information session, I think, for
Yep,
that.
it was.
So, Heather, I don't, go ahead.
No, go
Is there
ahead.
anything?
I got two more to do, but you go ahead and finish.
So, I know we did a lot of talking prior to you getting there, but I think that the main concern is, and Mr. Roger is one of them, but there's other, is what are we gonna do about the fact that the grass is just not satisfactorily done to our satisfaction of how it should look and what it should look like? And it's not just this committee that is stating that, it's actually your residents. Have you been over to the North Cemetery?
Not since before Memorial Day.
Okay. Well, it looks pretty bad,
This-
unfortunately.
Just for my 2 cents, and you're aware of this, this has been going on since we had our meeting at the library with the selectmen
Last
and
year.
last year, and we still haven't resolved it. I don't understand why it takes over a year to resolve a problem that if we don't work it out, it's going to just continue going year after year after year. And the point that's in the back of my mind is that we have the facility director for the school system that is able to hire people to help him as outside contractors to do the schools, to do the senior center, to do the town.
No, two
Lawns.
separate. So school does their
school
properties.
does theirs.
And
And
facilities
facility does
department
his.
does town
Okay.
properties, including parks.
Okay, but he's able to hire outside contractor, but if we already gave.
That's within the facilities budget to hire outside contractors.
Well, I
So,
think we're at
what-
that
So I think it's a
point.
budgetary issue,
Okay.
say. So if we had more funds available in the budget, we'd be able to provide additional support to get all the cemeteries done to the Cemetery Commission's satisfaction.
And who puts, I mean, are we supposed to be putting that in the budget for the town? I mean, because we,
That would be your input to the director, as far as additional funding for
Because the way
that,
I
and then
s-
it goes to the town manager in development of the budget.
because the way I see it now, when it came to the, what's the big budget that,
The capital plan.
The capital plan, we put our information together to the DPW. There's always a hierarchy,
Yes.
since we're a commission.
It's the same,
And then the DPW gives it to the capital planning group, and of course, if they're gonna approve anything, the DPW is gonna get their share before we get our share, because they do the whole town, you know? And that's where I see that we're having problems.
I don't know if I'm misunderstanding what you're saying, but the process with capital planning is all the projects get put into submissions, and the capital planning committee has their rating criteria that they're all rated, and then they hear the presentations from each department on all the projects being requested, and then they prioritize them.
Right.
So
But
it's
then
not that.
you can prioritize
Correct.
it, meaning you're the final, right?
Now, what I was saying, though,
Okay.
is that
Or the town manager.
you're
It's
right.
not-
You're right as far as how it's presented to them. But when I was at the meeting with the DPW director at the capital planning meeting, there was just, he separated what we're looking for and what the DPW is looking for, but he had more emphasis on what the DPW was looking for, because he's covering the whole town. He needs a loader, he needs this electrical system, he needs this, and this. So in my eyes, and I could be wrong, but in my eyes, they're going to approve what he needed for the whole town before we're just a little part of
No,
that.
I
So-
wouldn't say
and-
that's accurate. I think
Well-
they look at, because, I mean, obviously, there's more projects than there's funding available.
Right.
We had $3.8 million in requests for just fiscal '25. So that, there's not enough funding to go around to cover it. What they try to do, that's why they look at evaluation criteria to prioritize their projects, but then they bring in their own thoughts. And there's always the opportunity for someone to come to their meetings to advocate for a project, maybe for information that they, wasn't brought up the first time around. So, I think overall, the capital planning committee tries to balance, departments and requests, and they're not looking at it like DPW is getting this, much, and just because it's, cemeteries under DPW, they've reached their allotted share of capital funding. It's more on what the needs are of the town and to balance all those needs and prioritize things, some that are safety issues more than others, as well.
Right, but $22,000 for the cemetery commission isn't doing it. It just, we can't continue this and not be able to keep the grass at the level that it should be at these cemeteries. And please understand, again, it isn't the cemetery commission that is, it is our looking at the cemeteries, knowing what they should look like and what they're not looking like, and the townspeople. You know, I also speak for the ones that call us to say, hey, could you bring this up? I'm really upset about it. I don't like the way it looks. Could you try to help us with that process? So it isn't just the cemetery commission. We're just bringing it to the forefront, which is, it is not looking well at all. And now we're going into, again, another holiday, which is July 4th.
And I know they're prepping for the July
Prepping,
4th,
okay.
yeah.
Well,
And we'll be, I believe, bringing in.
I really would love to see you, Heather, go over there and look at the cemeteries.
I'm just concerned how much longer it's going to take. We've been talking about this for a year now. I mean, in business, I know you said at the other meeting that the town is not a business, but the town is a business. You got finances, you got expenses, and you got personnel. It's just like a regular business out there. So,
But we have
How lo-
limitations, unlike businesses can sometimes just increase their prices with overhead costs, where a town cannot. We have limitations on our available funding sources. So, and that means resources.
I-
So this is
I
where
think
you have
it's,
to.
You know,
use your-
pretty binary that we haven't staffed, even though you have open positions. You know, you have open positions instead of filled positions.
It's been a hard
So-
job market for the last.
Yeah, you know, are we not doing it because there's open positions and not filled positions, and maybe there needs to be another position? And,
I mean, how much longer is it gonna take? We've done it a year. I mean, I want to let the people know, you know, that we're trying to get this done properly. If we, the point that we did a year ago was to say, okay, let's bring in an outside contractor to help the superintendent. We didn't want him to think that we were taking his job away, which I think he's thinking if we bring in contractors. We're not. He's telling us at that meeting that he doesn't have the time to do the whole thing. If you don't have the time, then we need to help him and give him
The resource to help.
resources. So,
I know, I believe it's Lakeview who's going to be coming in to help prepare for the 4th of July holiday as well, so.
okay, because the paperwork we got says that we don't have enough money. Isn't that what we just read? There's not enough money to bring people in. So I hope that they do.
I would like to see the numbers validated again, because these seem awfully high to me of where we are. What Lakeview, for instance, I'm going to use an example at Fish Street. I do not believe it takes 2 hours to mow Fish Street. Fish Street is not any bigger than this room.
No,
It's
it
not
doesn't.
going to take me 2 hours with a push mower to do that. So again, I want to know where these numbers came from, how they were broken down on it, because depending on the hours of you spend on the lawnmower, again, if you're not measuring it, you're not managing it. So I'd like to know where the measurements are on this and what it bills down to, because something doesn't seem right on these numbers. And we know for a fact that with other companies coming in, that the north on an average should only be 24 to 30 hours per week to get that done, and also the south cemetery 16 to 20. That's what was stated in that pilot program that we did, and there's other companies that have stated the same depending on how many acres you have there. So I guess that's my point, is are we being smart with the time that we have? And I guess that's the piece that I think needs to look into, because we've done everything else, and if we're gonna keep doing the same thing over and over, we're insane to keep doing this.
I have to cut this short. I have an 11
Yep.
o'clock meeting at the
And
library.
we need to
so-
get done too, so.
Yeah. All right.
So if you can look into that, Heather, and get back to us regarding that, that would be wonderful. And I thank you for your time coming in and helping with this. It's much appreciated. Is there anything else, Mike?
no,
Or
I'm good.
Dave?
Nope.
All right, do you want to
Motion
adjourn?
to
the room?
adjourn at, what time is it?
10:50.
10:56.
Yeah,
10:56.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.